An explosion last week killed off hopes that the last few years of diplomatic handshakes between North and South Korea had achieved anything. The blast targeted a glassy office building near the border that opened just 2 years ago, and was built so representatives of the two Koreas could meet to hammer out agreements. North Korea's state TV claimed the attack was retaliation, to the South sending propaganda via balloons across the border. And now, the North is threatening to do the same, sending 12 million of their own leaflets across the border in what would be the largest propaganda campaign by the North against the South. South Korean officials said this move would only worsen an already strained relationship. The latest incursions by the North appear to mostly be sending a message to Washington. In 2017, North Korea tested a nuclear weapon and rolled out a variety of long-range missiles which experts said could reach the US, sparking a diplomatic crisis. But things seemed to be improving. In 2018, they signed the Panmunjom Declaration for Peace, Prosperity, and Reunification with South Korea. And since then, Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un has met with President Trump 3 times in an attempt to strike a nuclear deal.
We had a terrific day, and we learned a lot about each other and about our countries.
But the US and North Korea never came to concrete agreements on specifics. And North Korea never even agreed to stop testing nuclear weapons.
I think there was really unrealistically high expectations from the beginning as to what would be accomplished in this diplomatic process and how quickly that could be accomplished. What we saw was a lot of frustration along the way because that expectation was so high that things would be easy, things would be quick. We could have a deal before the end of the year. We could end the war before the end of the year. I think there's multiple threads here that the North Koreans were trying to show to a domestic audience that 2 years of diplomacy didn't leave the state weaker. It wasn't a mistake. They tried something, and even if it didn't work, that there's still a strong state, that they're still militarily strong, and that there's also still strong leadership.
If North Korea needs to send that message now, it's because it's dealing with a pandemic and a power vacuum. The so-called supreme leader is rumored to be in poor health, and having recently disappeared from public view, his sister, Kim Yo-jong, has stepped up to polish her resume.
I believe Kim Yo-jong has been studying the art of statecraft, and that she is the most trusted aide to Kim Jong-un, and that she is now playing, apparently, the role of the so-called bad cop, while Kim Jong-un is sitting back, letting his sister run this horror show. Why? Well, Kim Jong-un needs to allow his sister to build up some credentials, to bolster her credibility, and she will have some achievements under the belt when the time comes for North Korea to re-engage the US or South Korea. I foresee North Korea to even ratchet things up even more and resort to bigger provocations, because the ultimate adversary in the end is the United States. And now is a particularly good time for North Korea to put maximum pressure on President Trump, who is reeling from the pandemic, the intense protests against racism, with only 5 months now to go, less than 5 months before the presidential election. When the US leader seems distracted or a bit weak, that's when North Korea comes out swinging.
Trump's good friend, Kim Jong-un from North Korea, says, I'm a rabid dog that needs to be beaten with a stick to death. Well, I tell you what, I count that as a badge of courage.
I don't think it really matters to North Korea whether Biden or Trump is in the White House, because the North Korean game is to escalate, to compel the US to accept it, and to deal with the stone-cold reality that North Korea, as a nuclear state, is here to stay.